Hey guys, welcome back to another lesson. Today I'd like to talk about why you shouldn't use the transpose button on your keyboard. So I know many of you have either electric keyboards or synths or electric pianos or digital pianos, and these pianos have a very alluring button called the transpose button, whereby if you want to move your chord progression up or down a couple of semitones, you can do it without changing what you're playing. So, you could be playing in the key of C, and suddenly you're playing with another person, or you just want to transpose it up a semitone and play in the key of D flat. So all you do is you reach out and you hit your transpose button and you play the exact same thing. And you're done. Now, there are a couple of reasons that I hear being touted as why you shouldn't be doing that, and I'm going to go over a couple of reasons I think are wrong, which are not justified, and one particular one which I think is extremely justified. So let's start with kind of two arguments against the transpose button that I personally find to be incorrect or inappropriate. The first is that it's cheating. You didn't really work. You didn't really practice your chords in all keys. You only know your chords, let's say, in one key, which is C major, which often happens with a lot of keyboard players. And if you were a good player, you would know that if you wanted to transpose this up in, let's say, a semitone, you'd know immediately how to do that without the transpose button. Now that's true, but personally, I don't really go for moral judgment in playing. First and foremost, you should ask yourself two questions. Are you having fun? And are you getting the results that you're after? And if the answer to these two questions are affirmative, then personally I feel like whatever it is you're doing fine. If it's with the transpose button or without it, that's really up to you. The second thing is, the second argument against using the transpose button that I personally don't really agree with is the fact that, people say, what happens if you ever encounter like a real piano and have to play it? Then you won't have a transpose button and you really will be stuck. Now, actually, that's kind of correct, but only correct if you're like a real live player and you play with a lot of different people, and you encounter a guitar player and he says, let's play this in the key of E flat, and you just have a piano and you have to accompany him. Then you're really stuck. But reality is that for most piano or keyboard players, we play kind of most of the time on ourselves or with friends, and I think usually we have our own instrument with us. And another point is that, a digital piano or like a synthesizer is kind of different from a piano. Nobody says, don't use the transpose button because one day you might encounter, some other instrument which you won't know how to play. If you view the synthesizer and the piano as two different instruments, then really that kind of makes it okay, right? You're learning your own instrument, the synthesizer, which has this additional capability which is not found on the piano, and that's fine, and you're utilizing that capability. So again, really, from a practical point of view, I find this argument to be kind of weak, unless you're a real, hardcore live player. But now we come to the third argument, which I personally do believe in, which is really the reason, in my opinion, you should learn how to play and transpose in real time without using the transpose button. And the reason is that really a lot of beauty and complexity in songs comes from modulating within the song. So you might be playing something in the key of C major, and you'd like to kind of either borrow chords from a different key or do like a modulation to a different key. And it doesn't have to be something really jarring. It could be like something really kind of, you could even say, almost imperceptible. Let me play something. So what I did here is I'm in the key of C major, everyone's favorite key, and I modulated in the middle to the key of E flat major and came right back. So really I couldn't really do that if I didn't know how to play my stuff in the key of E flat. And that kind of is, or that is actually something that you won't really pick up if you keep relying on the transpose button, because you'll really be caged into your C major key. And this modulation happens, a little bit, not as often in popular music, unfortunately. It happens a lot in jazz. So, you actually modulate quite a bit. For example, you could just play like a 2-5-1 and so I was basically playing the same progression over and over, but just transposing it to different keys as I was playing. This was a 2-5-1 progression. And this comes, again, from playing in all 12 keys, because you really don't have the luxury of midway through your performance to start pressing your transpose button. So that's really the main reason, in my opinion, you shouldn't be using the transpose button, and really try to practice your scales and chords and chord voicings and all of these things in all 12 keys. And of course, start with the most prominent scales and chords, like try to learn all of the major scales. And then learn of the minor scales and learn of the 2-5-1 progression in all keys and so on. I'm going to conclude with I'm just going to play a chord progression which modulates a lot. And again, this is the kind of sound that I think you will have an extremely hard time acquiring if you rely on the transpose button continuously. So you really have to sort of leave the comfort zone of C major if you want to inject harmonic interest into your playing. So I hope you enjoy the little chord progression I'm going to play. There are a lot of different ideas thrown in there. I won't really go in depth into all of them. And at any rate, I hope you've learned something interesting, and I'll see you next time.